This is the First Amendment of the United States. It declares that every citizen has undeniable rights to the freedom of speech, press, religion, and the right to assemble. Government censorship of the media and its restrictions on the methods the press uses to report and research blinds the American people from the information they have the right to know.
On June 17, 1972, the uncovering of possibly the biggest political scandal in United States history was put into play when 5 men were arrested for breaking into the Democratic National Committee. The men were attempting to bug phones as well as take pictures of confidential documents. The head of Richard Nixon's re-election campaign denied any involvement. However, 12 days later, a check for $25,000 designated for the Nixon re-election campaign was deposited into the bank account of one of the burglars. FBI agents established that the Watergate incident derived from an extensive campaign of political espionage operated on behalf of President Nixon's re-election campaign. Once it was established that his administration was involved, Nixon then resigned from his position. Watergate propelled the media towards one of its most prosperous time periods. This was because of the idealistic views that many young people held during the 70s. They saw the difference the media made in this situation and recognized an opportunity to do something substantial with their lives.
I was a college student, or high school student, becoming a college student, and that whole incident was probably one of the driving forces that led me into journalism. And I think after Watergate, I think there was a rush of folks like myself eager to get in and to test those kinds of issues and freedom of the press.
On September 11, 2012, Islamic militants attacked the American diplomatic compound in Benghazi, Libya. The militants killed 4 Americans. Of those 4 included the U.S. ambassador, 2 CIA contractors, and a Foreign Service Management officer. Upon learning about the attacks, the U.S. restricted troops from entering the attack site. UN Secretary Susan Rice claims that these attacks were due to an anti-Muslim video posted on the internet. However, as more facts were revealed, they proved her claim wrong.
What this began as was a spontaneous, not a premeditated, response to what had transpired in Cairo. In Cairo, as you know, a few hours earlier, there was a violent protest that was undertaken in reaction to this very offensive video that was disseminated.
The Benghazi scandal opened the eyes of many Americans and raised multiple questions. What else are we kept in the dark about? How much of the information we receive is true? The answers may shock you.
Sometimes mistakes are made, and sometimes we see bad calls being made. And I think we have to have a look at the good, the bad, and the ugly of our system, make sure it's working, taking care of people, because we don't want to lose faith in our justice system.
Vice President of the First Amendment Center, Gene Polsinski, once said, "The First Amendment establishes our right to a press free from intrusion, regulation, or intimidation by the government."
We saw the Patriot Act push through Congress during a biological attack on Congress, the infamous anthrax attacks, which happened just weeks after 9/11, the 9/11 attacks. This reminds me of the Enabling Acts, which trashed the Weimar German Constitution. Hitler put those Enabling Acts through to destroy the Constitution. In a climate of fear, we saw the same thing play out here. And what the Congress is doing now is they're suspending the rules to fast-track this renewal of the Patriot Act with the determination to make these sunsetted provisions permanent.
The Patriot Act is over 300 pages long. It weighed as much as a baby. It was printed at 3 in the morning, and they had to vote on it by 11 a.m. The Patriot Act gave the government access to wiretapping you, electronically surveilling you, researching your medical records, looking at your bank records, looking at your credit card statements, even looking at the books you checked out of the library, all without you ever having done anything wrong, and all without a warrant.
Today we take an essential step in defeating terrorism while protecting the constitutional rights of all Americans.
The freedom of press and transparency play big roles in our free society, along with the FOIA requests and the restrictions on how information goes around. As well as restricting the media to protect images, the government also uses national security as a way to block the public from certain situations. One would assume that the U.S. would be ranked highly regarding the freedom of press. However, in 2011, the U.S. ranked only 46th in the world. The willingness of high-powered government officials to share information significantly dropped in 2013. Government officials are becoming more and more reluctant to tell the press the truth, and it's becoming more difficult for reporters to determine if what politicians are telling them is reliable. When interviewing politicians or public officials, how do you determine what they say is true or if they're trying to mislead you?
That's the tricky part. You can't, there's no lie detector test.
Well, sometimes that's gut feeling, but whether you feel that what they're telling you is correct or whether it's just BS.
Well, I think you normally assume with government officials that they are trying to present the information in a light that portrays them in the best possible way or advances the issue that they are advocating as strongly as possible. My normal procedure is to trust but verify.
There are new methods of restricting the flow of information. For example, recently a high number of FOIA requests are being denied or censored, making it more difficult to obtain information and ultimately keeping reporters from doing their job.
So one of the biggest things in dealing with the FOIA requests is time, because I don't know anybody who's had much luck getting FOIA requests filled in a timely manner. It's just months usually, sometimes years.
It's not necessarily something the public usually looks for, but it's a way to understand a topic better and to know what how officials are actually communicating on an official basis, but also in a way that the public doesn't necessarily see right away.
In the words of former U.S. Senator Christopher Dodd, when the public's right to know is threatened, and when the rights of free speech and free press are at risk, all other liberties we hold dear are endangered. That not only affects journalists today, it will continue to affect future journalists like ourselves.